Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion today. My name is Kimberly Quinn. I'm actually here with little Giovanni, usually out with me in the woods too, and he's here taking a nap. And we are here to have another conversation about, becoming the boss of your brain. That is what it's about. Thoughts first, feelings second, actions or behavior last. And my shout out today goes to Sarah Von Brednek, author of Simple Abundance. I really love her. She's on my list of people that well, she's one I read. Usually, a lot of the other ones I do both with some of them. Read like Wayne Dyer, read and listen to, and she's just loaded with daily wisdom. And I love how it's all seasonally. She's right on target with the seasonal stuff, and it's a nice lift in the morning. That's for sure. So, you're talking about habits that we all have. Those are unconscious behaviors that can come into the consciousness, but basically, habits is what we're talking about when the body knows what to do on its own, right? It's this kind of, I don't need your mind. I got this, right? So um she begins here. She talks about this habit stealing our precious life minutes, and with a quote by Horace Mann, which says, "Lost yesterday, somewhere between sunrise and sunset, two golden hours, each set with 60 diamond minutes. No reward is offered, for they are gone forever." And I love how Sarah starts out, saying that, gosh, it is so true that nothing dies harder than a bad habit. I mean, because if it's a substance we're talking about, actually behavior too, it's a little more complicated with something like alcohol, cigarettes, things like that, but it's still the same reward system. That neural receptors are involved, and neural receptors actually get rewired when they've been repeating that pattern of alcohol or cigarettes or watching porn or whatever. A cell phone addiction, actually, same thing. So she says, usually we know whenever we're doing something that's not good for us, because that small voice that resides in the center of our heads can be a pretty vigilant nag. Please don't, it will whisper when we light up that cigarette, pour an extra glass of wine, or stand in front of the refrigerator inhaling cold spaghetti because we're nervous. Oh my God, stress eating. People I think don't often think of these things. And obviously habits, just like the precursors to full-blown addiction. I mean, it's not different. The body really taking it all on without needing the mind is actually the definition. It's actually Joe Dispenza's definition of addiction. Anyway, the trouble is, of course, that until now, we haven't been willing to listen. So we're talking about, there's obviously a spectrum, like most things in life. There's little habits of, sneaking a couple of Oreos out the door on the way to work, all the way to really advanced, advanced stages of alcoholism and things like that, and also porn addiction. And so, the textbook definition of addiction is to continue doing something, whether it's a substance or behavior. It's kind of a combination of both, despite adverse consequences. So it's like people in our families are saying, really don't, please stop. That DWI, definitely that second or third DWI for that type of example. With the porn example, your relationships are going down the tubes, and having, because of the whole thing that's involved with that, I don't want to get too far off. Addictions to cell phones and screens. So there's a whole, range of maybe doing too much cell phone time, spending too much cell phone time, too much internet, and all the way till it gets in the way of where you're not even doing a lot of face to face anymore. It's getting in the way of work and school and all that sort of thing. So that's what we're talking about. But no matter what we're talking about, habits are things we don't have control over. So therein lies the problema with the fact that they can steal, and the word is steal, our most valuable, precious life minutes. And obviously, before we go about changing any behavior, we have to first sort of kind of reflect on it, because obviously, if something's stirring us enough up to think about it, that's worthy of a conversation with ourselves, and to really ask, is this working for me anymore? And just like again, like the spectrum thing, it might parts of it might still be working. There's an immediate relief from sucking down a glass of wine, right? I like wine myself, so I can't point a finger there. Yet there's when it, whatever it is, behavior gets out of hand, or maybe it's not even out of hand yet. Maybe it's partially working, with the glass of wine at dinner or whatever. But maybe it's something. Maybe it's like a totally mild scale, like or actually speaking of scale, maybe that's it. Maybe realizing, you know what, I really enjoy this wine at night. It's not full blown alcoholism or anything. But I don't. I bet I would be about 10 pounds lighter if I drank bottled water at night or um, had I'm thinking like cucumber, throw lemon in there, seltzer water, something. And maybe you're like, it's that stage. That's just one example. With alcohol it could be it could be anything. It could be the junk food habit. I realize I'm stress eating at night. What if I didn't have that available and I got home from work late and tired and stressed, and I have a big job and have to get right back at it again tomorrow? Maybe thinking about I might feel better. So kind of evaluating whether it would be a healthier lifestyle, a positive change to the body, and once we sort of develop this awareness of the could be's if we cease to do said habit, right, or introduced said habit, like you just got a new Peloton and you're going to start all the workout stuff to really because that really helps that to kind of evaluate, maybe even write it down would be a really good idea. Oprah talks about that a lot, usually in relation to the gratitude journal. But when we're thinking something sitting on the couch or going for a walk in the woods, that's a very good start because awareness is key. We can't do what we don't know. But then when we actually write it down, there's something about the written word because you can go back, tomorrow and look back at today and be like, oh, I was still thinking about that. And then you go back a week or two. Oh, I was thinking about, preparing my meals ahead for the whole week or whatever it is. And so that's really important. And then she talks about once we kind of gain this awareness, it kind of becomes easier to treat ourselves with more kindness and more gently. And then Sarah says, as you become more intimate with your authentic self and see glimmers of the woman you truly are inside, well, she talks about just specifically to women. So let's recap. As you become more intimate with your authentic self and see glimmers of the person you truly are inside, you shore up the courage to take tentative, the first tentative steps necessary to help them evolve and emerge outwardly. So we're talking about the habit on the outside is really all about winning from within, right? We got to win from within and then take the steps to, make that change with an add or subtract, depending on what the habit is. So then Sarah says, once we kind of get on track with this, I mean, for me, awareness is like really the hugest step. My good friend Dr. Dave says once we can't do what we don't know, but once we become aware, we become responsible. So it's kind of like a switch is turned on. And once it's turned on, there's momentum. And once there's momentum, that goal is much closer than when we were dormant and not noticing, not seeing, not getting it. And so Sarah says, soon we'll begin hearing whispers that encourage and comfort, not berate us. So that's that inner voice. And our authentic being, our authentic, real, true inner self doesn't berate us ever. That's all ego talk. The authentic being within each and every one of us, that authentic self is whole and complete. It's the ego that's involved with all this stuff. So we start to really hear that encouragement, that comfort, and really we start to feel the nudge of momentum down the path to, kind of, healthier behavior, healthier choice making. So then she says, I guess this is here's my wine example revisited. Then one thirsty evening, instead of automatically reaching for wine while we fix dinner, we'll enjoy a refreshing glass of sparkling mineral water, especially if it's served with lemon in a pretty cut glass goblet. That matters so much. Sarah, and I told you I really love her book. I've had this for years. I think I'm a fabulous 58 now, and I think I was reading it in my 30s. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look at the date, but I she does a lot within the different days through the year with that nice touch of jazzing things up. So when she's talking about the glass with the lemon in a nice cut, pretty glass versus that everyday glass that's maybe kind of been through the the rinse cycle, the dishwasher like 100 times, or maybe buy a new one, even better, if you're on the track to a healthier lifestyle, and go to the store and just get something that's or maybe get 2 of them just you can alternate or get 1 for every day or whatever, but something really just gorgeous that's so inviting to help you kinda lean into the Pellegrino, instead of the red wine. And then she says, instead of the unconscious snacking every time we enter the kitchen, it's every time we enter the kitchen, maybe, or maybe not every time, right? When we enter the kitchen, that stress eating that we often do, we get home from work. It can also be an out the door thing if we're not taking enough time for ourselves in the morning. I get up really early, so I thankfully don't have that. I don't want to start my day out hurried and grabbing whatever out of the fridge. And I'm not trying to be on my high horse. I'm just trying to encourage the getting up early thing, and it's not for everybody. However, most successful people, at least that I know, and a lot of the celebs that we all kind of not know technically, but know of, everybody's got a morning routine. They get up early. Successful people in general get up early, and there are reasons for that. But it also feeds into this because when we give ourselves more time, a lot of habits are attached to being um, our time not having a lot of time related. Not all of them, certainly not all of them, but the stress eating, the out the door stress eating, sort of things, grabbing whatever's there to drink because we didn't, same thing. So when we take the time to like in the morning, for me, I'm in mindfulness mode and gratitude mode, and it's really a nice start to the day. I just had to throw that in there. So let's just retract. So I got off on a little tangent, very helpful tangent, but a tangent nonetheless. Instead of the unconscious snacking every time we enter the kitchen, we'll start eating only when we're sitting down and only what's on our plates, especially if we take the time to prepare delicious meals that satisfy the eye as well as our appetites. So here she goes again. She does a lot of this um, the preparation stuff and just the special, making even the lightest summer lunch on the back deck, like I do for myself on occasion when I'm remote. I make like a nice, beautiful salad and grilled chicken and jazz it up. And now I will also humbly admit that if I've hit the point where I'm absolutely ravenous, that often goes right out the door. And I'll go straight for the leftovers and just nuke them in the microwave. But when that isn't the case, it just feels so good to take care of myself in that way, even if I'm by myself, the cute little gherkin pickles and the sweet gherkins, and make this beautiful, ginormous salad and a big, big, goblet of ice water. It makes such a difference because it's so pleasing to the eye. And I remember actually when I was bartending quite a ways back now at this local ski resort in the restaurants, and the chef used to tell me that presentation was like 93% of it, of the whole thing. So we take the time to do that for ourselves. It's also just so loving and kind to ourselves. It's a deposit in the self-esteem bank. That's what I tell my students. It's a deposit in the self-esteem bank. Okay, so just recap. We're talking about habits that steal our most valuable, precious life minutes away from us. So the first step is to become aware. So if you're having this kind of unconscious conversation, not unconscious, it's subconscious. It's leaking its way into the consciousness, like ready to become conscious. And you're picking up on it usually at times when you're driving or you're in the shower. So if you're actually thinking about it, it is conscious. It's coming up from the vault saying, notice me, notice me, notice me. So that we pull it into full awareness, full throttle awareness. That's the first step. And then we go into really reflecting on that. What about this is working for me, is not working for me, and what would be the benefits to me stopping it? Or if it's an ad situation like exercise, what are the benefits to my mind, my body? Maybe it's a different situation with living space or something like that, but really weigh out what's not working for you and then the potential benefits. And then lastly, it's to come up with a plan. So to come up with a plan that also to the best of your ability makes it easy for you, so easier. Shifting habits is not so easy, but it gets easier as when the momentum starts. We talked about it. It also gets easier to maintain them. So when we can make this inviting, like we talked about with the beautiful cut, glass goblet with the lemon slices or cucumber slices or whatever, or a beautiful piece of china. Maybe get it at a yard sale, but it's gorgeous and it's just one gorgeous china plate that's for you. Or if you're trying to kind of swap out to, especially now that it's coming to the nicer weather, I bought these. Actually, I did not buy them. My sister-in-law gave them to me. They're these cool, funky, very large salad bowls, and my husband and I have been enjoying salads in them. They're big and white. They're kind of funky the way they kind of geometrically, and they're large. And obviously, you don't fill them up to the top. Actually, sometimes I do, to be honest. But I love that huge bowl thing, and then you just put the salad in. You fill it up like halfway or something, and it's so inviting to have that salad. So do something that really makes it kind of exciting for you that you're looking forward to. In whatever way that matches to whatever habit it is you're talking about. So that's really it. So we're talking about life minute rescue by shifting or leaning into good habits or leaning out of and shifting out of the ones that are no longer working for us. And that is it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.